We're back, and we're back with more Ghibli Fest. There's links in the description of the video for watching these Studio Ghibli movies. If you haven't heard of Studio Ghibli, you've been living under a rock!
Good studio. They make a lot of good movies, and we just saw Secret World of Arrietty, both in English and then Japanese with English subtitles.
In theaters, too.
In theaters, yeah.
Yeah.
On the big screen, which is appropriate because they're small people. It's a story about small people, and when you get to see all this giant stuff that's giant to them when it's actually kind of small on a big screen, then it's like, whoa.
Yeah, it really shows the scale when it's that big of a screen. And they do such a good job with capturing, the detail and the subtlety of things, and then the small things.
Yeah.
Small that you just can't really get that on a little screen, on a computer screen. It's just like...
classic Ghibli stuff, but then it's kind of almost amplified a bit. And also the movie has an intro to it, or it did in theaters, where the director of it was like one of the head animators at the studio, which... it totally made sense after watching the movie that almost everything was like, it was built around being this really different type of almost refined animation instead of the usual Ghibli film, like where Miyazaki would do it, and it's almost like it has more soul rather than like almost technique behind it or something. Mm-hmm. Like this was just so technically driven by the animation. It's like stunt doubles doing the choreography for some really stunt-filled action scene, and they just know how to make it look good.
Yeah, there's definitely that essence. The soundtrack is amazing. The way they would capture how a little person would hear the noises in a house when they, say, enter the kitchen, and all the pipes and everything like amplified so loud.
I think, as far as I can tell, it's the best use of like audio in any movie that I've ever seen. Ghibli, they're great at everything. We could talk about their animation forever, their character, their storytelling, all that. But their audio is always amazing. And with this movie, you get to hear all the... of course, there's the dramatic things, like when she walks out to the kitchen the first time, just kind of that whole scene, and just hearing what's in the kitchen at that scale. Or little other things where they'll have the clock in the room ticking, but then it turns into her heartbeat when she's spotted, and like all those little tricks like that. But then just to have the noise right with like every footstep, like the subtlest little thing of the grandma stepping down the hall and then clicking the key in, and those are like the only sounds that are happening at all. Mm-hmm. And it's just so perfect.
Even in the same scene where they enter the kitchen and it's like booming, whatever, you see that the dad crosses the floor and then up the countertop. He's this small, right? And then he waves, and there's just that subtle sound of, and like those little things that just make it so real, and full.
And the sound of like even tinging, like when there's a ting sound from a little piece of metal or something, they made that sound different for the little people when it's from their perspective, right. And then when it's like a little ting sound, like Arrietty dropping that little hook, and it's from the boy's perspective, and then it sounds different. Like they alter the sound, which is like on the perspective.
Also comedic, way of doing it. That makes me think of what the differences between the anime or the Japanese and the English version is actually quite a lot of dialogue. Mm-hmm. Especially with characters like Arrietty's mom, who's very talkative and more dramatic, like, oh, we're gonna die, like, oh, goodbye, table, and she doesn't quite have that. She's more like just nervous, but like not as...
she's very like almost laid back. Like it's not quite laid back, but it's like rather than
yeah. It's almost like she's been like that so long, so she laughs about it at herself, but she still does it. Mm-hmm. Almost.
A lot of the lines were really good too, where it's like, in English they would say, "Oh, why is my first thought he always got eaten by the cat?" And like it gives it humor, where the other one it's meant to be almost more dramatic. Like it doesn't have any comedic undertone to it.
No, and a few things that pop out to me, like one at the end of the movie, he's like, Arrietty, my heart's stronger now because you're in it. And that line was totally different in Japanese. It was, I don't even know what it was, but it just didn't like wasn't cool. Like I didn't like it.
It wasn't as like cohesive. Like,
Yeah.
it's something that almost anybody could say because it's like
It's
just
not
that type of line.
It
but
didn't feel like specific to the moment of the story. And like, another one, they added a line where there's a moment where Arrietty's on his shoulder and they're climbing out and walking across the rooftop, and he like slips and she's like one step at a time, and that's the same line her dad says to her when she's walking across these nails, and they're trying to it's very scary to look down and like you could fall through these nails, and he says just one step at a time, or don't look down, one step at a time. And so they added that line completely. That was just in the Japanese version. It's just silent. He's just walking across the roof, silent.
Yeah.
And it's just such a good connective piece. That's like, oh, she said, or her dad said that earlier to her, and
it really develops their characters a lot more with those lines in there than without. Some other things like the line added at the very end where he says like, and then I found out down the street there's a house where things have been going missing. Like they just
that was just totally not in the Japanese, and it just goes to credits.
Yeah, very different feel of movie because of the way dialogue would shift, and then in both cases the audio was just amazing. Yeah, another great Ghibli film, but it made us appreciate Ghibli for, I guess, totally
different things.
Yeah, different reasons every time.
I think there's something about Miyazaki's that I like more. We'll see what Studio Ponak does, where the director of this movie is now the head director in a sense at Studio Ponak, and they released Mary and the Witch's Flower. That was their first film. So we'll see what they do.
See if they can make movies faster than...
Yeah. The same director made When Marty Was There, which is amazing. And they're definitely top level. Just see how it goes in the future.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen the movies, Studio Ghibli's Fest is still on. Apparently they do it every year. This is the first year we heard about it. So... you can watch those movies in theaters now once every month or whatever. They have a certain select showings, and then follow our weekly videos and you'll hear us talk about other stories that we like, things that are similar to our stories or how we just see stories in general, so you can get a sense of when our stories are ready. You can understand, or you know where we're coming from with them.
Yeah.
And if you want to know more about our stories in general, we have behind the scenes documentation. Every month we release content where you can watch us and see what we're doing.
Visit our website, click on the links, follow around, go from there, and
See you next time.